Ross, thank you for taking time. I know it's probably a busy week. Draft week, baby. You fired up?
Oh, yeah, Adam. I love draft week, although I will say it's interesting. There's not as much of a buzz this year as there has been in recent years, and it's just because of the quarterbacks. I mean, the quarterbacks are going to be the ones that drive the attention surrounding every draft. Last year, we knew it was Trevor Lawrence, the generational, which we say, by the way, about the number one pick every year. It was generational. And then even number 2, Zach Wilson was kind of the new kid on the block, who, by the way, looks like he could be in New Kids on the Block. And then number 3 was the Niners, right? They traded up. Everybody knew they were taking a quarterback, but nobody knew who. It was like, oh, it's going to be Justin Fields. Or, no, I talked to my brother's uncle's plumber, and he said it's Mac Jones. I mean, there was just a lot of intrigue a year ago that there isn't nearly as much this year at the top, and there's not as much excitement about the quarterbacks. I mean, honestly, when people talk quarterbacks, they're really talking about, it seems like, the Panthers at 6 and your boys, the Steelers, at 20.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up because I've sensed everything that you've said nationally about this draft. It doesn't feel like it's as palpable, this energy here. But in Pittsburgh, it's the first time in 18 years we've been able to talk about a quarterback. So I want to get Ross Tucker's thoughts on QB at 20. If the Steelers were to take Desmond Ridder, is that a reach? Are Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis okay at 20, but is Desmond Ridder maybe the reach there?
I don't think he's a reach there. Look, ultimately, there's a lot of talk about 3 guys going in the first round. And it seems like Malik Willis, Pickett, and Ridder are the 3 guys that are going to go in the first round. People, I think, are out there saying, well, if someone's going to trade up from round 2 into the bottom of round 1 to get Ridder because they want the 5th-year option and blah, blah, blah. Well, if someone's willing to trade up from second round and give something of value to get him at 28, 29, 30, 31, well, then what's the problem with taking him at 20? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, what makes sense to me is if you like him and he's the kid you want, then take him, no matter where he would be drafted. I mean, if he was at 10, that would be the right answer. If he was at 25, I never really buy that. If the guy's good, who cares? If the guy stinks, it was bad no matter where you took him. I mean, I know you want to try to get value, but I wouldn't really try to get a little too cute with it, trade down, then get him. How dumb would you feel if you missed out on him, man, especially if he's a guy you think could be your starting quarterback for years?
Ross Tucker, Odyssey NFL analyst, joining me, Adam Crowley, here on The Fan. Ross Tucker, also an Ivy League man, so you know he's smart. I know you've been doing your podcast, and you've had Greg Cosell, and it's just been a wonderful listen for anybody out there who's trying to catch up on the draft or you just want more content. If you haven't searched that out, you should do so. Who do you like of these quarterbacks, and what about your guy, Greg Cosell?
Well, so it's interesting. I know a lot of people really like Willis, and they equate him a little bit to Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in the sense that if you want a guy that has top 5 type of ability, he's the guy. It really comes down to kind of what your flavor of ice cream is, so to speak, right? If you're willing to try to develop a guy and you're willing to take that risk, then Malik Willis is your guy just because of the ability he possesses. I don't understand why people are down on Pickett. I don't understand why Pickett doesn't get more love. He was awesome this year. To me, there's not that much of a difference between what Pickett did this year and what Joe Burrow did a couple of years ago. You know, Pickett was thought of as whatever, a 4th or 5th round pick. He has an unbelievable year for Pitt. You know, takes Pitt to places they haven't been in forever. And yet he's not getting the same love. People say, oh, well, Joe Burrow won the Heisman, won the national championship. Dude, his receivers were Jordan Jefferson and Jamar Chase. You know, 2 of the top 5 receivers in the NFL. Now, I know the Addison kid is good for Pitt. He's going to be a stud next year. Like, I get it. But to me, I don't think that Pickett and Burrow are that dissimilar. And I'm surprised more people aren't giving Pickett love. I mean, you know, Burrow did good things with LSU. They were loaded. Pickett took Pitt and rose the whole program up about 2 notches.
You are speaking to the choir here, my friend. I think a lot of people who are listening to this right now in your home with the Panthers are clapping in agreement. They might be clapping with hands that are bigger than Kenny Pickett's, but they are nonetheless clapping. Do you buy into that, the hand size thing with Pickett? Obviously, it sounds like you don't.
No, I don't. And, well, it's interesting. I'm going to give you a personal example on that, okay? So I was a bottom of the barrel prospect, blah, blah, blah. Nobody listening cares. But my arm length is 30 and a half, okay? There was only 2 linemen at the Combine this year that had less than 32 inches, and they were both 31 and 7/8. Mine was 30 and a half. So I'm like the outlier of outliers. Why do I mention that? Well, I mean, I ended up playing 7 years from Princeton and sticking around and starting 25 games, so I showed I could do it, and I probably would have played longer if I didn't hurt my back and then my neck. Now, the flip side is I don't think I ever would have been a Pro Bowler, right? And I think – so what I'm saying is I think physical ability does matter a little bit. You can overcome something like a smaller hand, but I think Pickett is a guy that has a lot more potential than I did. As long as he can throw the ball, who cares? I mean,
Totally with you.
I think it's way overblown. What matters will be really, to me, how he carries it when he's in the pocket. And by the way, it's not that big a deal if he throws the ball before they get there because he's smart and he knows where to go with the ball.
Ross Tucker joining me, Adam Crowley on 93.7 The Fan. You can text us on the Edgar Snyder Associates fan text line, 412-928-9370. Edgar Snyder and Associates reminds you to text responsibly. Let's step away from quarterbacks just for a minute because if the Steelers don't take a quarterback, let's give the people some knowledge there. You and Greg Cosell were breaking down the inside linebackers and safeties recently. I'm in love with Devin Lloyd. If he's there at 20, I'd do backflips for the Steelers, but do you think he will be there, and what's your evaluation of him?
No, I don't think he'll be there, and no, I don't think the Steelers would do that again. Right or wrong, I think what happened with Devin Bush would put them in a position. I just don't see them doing it again. Now, maybe you could argue the opposite. Maybe you could argue the opposite and say that they will go ahead and do it again because Devin Bush hasn't played well. But I don't think they will. I don't think that. You know, it's funny. How much have you guys talked about the Colbert factor? I guess I don't really picture Colbert wanting to go inside backer again.
Yeah, I'm on Colbert probably wants to leave everybody with a nice, solid quarterback. That's what I think is going to happen. The press conference that he and Mike Tomlin did today doesn't really move me off that spot.
What's he going to do, Adam? I mean, how old is he? Is he retiring? He doesn't seem that old to me.
I think he's going to be doing the emeritus kind of thing. I bet you he's around, but I don't think he's going to be day-to-day doing anything near what he does now.
Got it. So he's not going anywhere else. He's a Pittsburgh guy through and through. He just doesn't want to grind like he's been grinding. I can respect that.
Yeah, there were rumors just last year that he might consider going down to Carolina, beaches and all that, but I don't think that that's in the cards for him. I do think that he'll largely step away. Ross Tucker joining me, Adam Crowley here on 93.7 The Fan. Do you like Devin Lloyd better than Nakobe Dean?
I do. Yeah, I think Devin Lloyd's a better player. It's funny. Nakobe Dean's another one to me. Big fan of the way he plays. I thought it was interesting if you were listening to the Ross Tucker podcast to hear what Greg had said about Dean being a little scheme specific because of how much they had him blitzing at Georgia. It's just amazing to me that people like Quay Walker more Georgia than Nakobe Dean. I mean, I must not evaluate the film as closely as these other guys, Adam. I just watch the games on TV, and Nakobe Dean always looked like he was shot out of a cannon to me, making plays all over the field. People say, well, they were blitzing him a lot. Okay, well, great. He still was making the plays. He always looked to me like he knew what was happening before it was happening. But you look at a bunch of mock drafts. It's funny because these mock drafts, a lot of them obviously, are based on what they're hearing about these guys. And in the mock draft, Nakobe Dean is like falling in all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's odd to me, too. We're joined by Ross Tucker, Adam Crowley here on 93.7 The Fan. Ross, you were talking about the safeties and the inside linebackers, as I already said. Dax Hill from Michigan, Lewis Cine from, of course, Georgia, because everybody's from Georgia. They're two intriguing safety prospects. I don't think the Steelers locked themselves out of the safety market by signing Terrell Edmunds to a one-year, $2.5 million deal. Do you think that either of those guys make sense at 20? Should the quarterback that they want not be there?
So Dax Hill has Pittsburgh Steeler written all over him. I mean, he's kind of like Minkah Fitzpatrick light, if you will. You know, he's that same type of player, and that he can really play any safety spot you want. He can play the nickel and the slot corner. I really think that that's who Dax Hill is. And it just seems like the Steelers love having those guys. You know, the pocket knife, if you will, that can play a bunch of different spots. And he's tough. He's physical. There's some people that can still think he can play corner. I can see them doing that for sure. That wouldn't surprise me. He just feels like a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Ross, really appreciate you taking the time to join us today, man. Thank you so much, and enjoy draft week, baby.
You know what? I absolutely will. It's funny. I don't know what it's like in Western PA right now, but I'm in Harrisburg. I'm at my daughter's softball game. It is freezing, dude. Like I don't know if you can tell, but I've been walking while we're talking because it's like windy and freezing, and I'm watching 10-year-olds play softball while I'm talking to you. I'm living the dream, bro. Living the dream.
Just so long as you get paid for the call, Ross. Hey, thanks again, man.
See you, man.
Take care. That's Ross Tucker, Odyssey NFL Insider. Insider Calls brought to you by Driveway.com. Head to Driveway.com today to shop more than 25,000 new and used cars in Driveway's nationwide inventory. Really good stuff there.